I've cornered Dustin a lot of his fights. I've cornered a lot of people. I've had my own fights. I don't know if I've been happier for myself or for someone than in that moment, man. It was just kind of what he's gone through. He's 1-4 in his last 5 after having a huge winning streak. Some of those fights were super close. I thought he beat Khalil, who just fought for the title.
Agreed, yeah.
He got dropped a couple times, but he's like 30 seconds combined away from winning 3 out of those 4 fights, right? And then he gets put out by Dom, which if you know Dustin, like that kid never gets put out. He's got a straight up beard on him. That guy, his chin's unreal.
It's proven, man.
Yeah.
Just go back and watch some tape.
So he gets knocked out, and I know just being a fighter and being a good friend of his, like where his confidence was at. And if you know Dustin, that's one of his superpowers. I think he's like one of the most confident dudes I know, but it was definitely shaken. And you're getting older, and you're like, how much more can I do this? How many more fights do I have? And he's fighting this absolute monster, dude. This guy got in the cage. If you're walking in the cage sideways, there's a problem. You're gigantic, right? You can't even fit through the doors. Like, this dude's huge. He's young. He's hungry. I'm like, man, this is kind of the deck stacked against us a little bit. And, you know, Dustin just had a perfect performance. Everything we worked, and, you know, knocked that one of the best knockouts of the year, if not the best knockout of the year.
Dude, just the patience for it.
Which is not Dustin.
Yeah, I know. Like, that's... I was so excited because of course, it's a nail biter for those first 2 rounds. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, fuck, man, I hate seeing my friends lose. You know, it's one thing, it's like, the worst. If you're just watching a fight and you don't know the 2 fighters, but like, I feel like there's some sort of investment. Like when you fight, or like watching you go through what you went through in Denver, you know, and all that, I was just like, fuck, man, this like kind of ruins my night. Like, I don't even want to see anybody else fight. I don't want to fight myself. That's what happened that night. But yeah, so like it's the exact opposite when you have a win like that, or like when I was in Austin to watch you, you know, with that slam.
A sick one, yeah.
That was fucking badass. That was super cool. I think shortly after that you came in here, right?
Yeah, that was my first time on. Yeah, it was. Those moments they make it all worth it. You know, you're like, I think this fighting thing is tough. Always wins, losses, whatever, but when you're losing a lot, it's really tough, and you're like, man, I'm over this, right? So then you get a win like that, and it kind of flips the script. I think, too, I always tell people, like, when I meet them, and like they come over to my house, or we get to be friends, I'm like, hey, well, unfortunately, I just ruined you watching my fights, because you're not going to really enjoy them anymore. You're going to be on edge
true, man.
The whole day. You're going to have anxiety.
It's like the emotion roller coaster,
It's
you know?
different when you know the people. For
and
sure.
I know I'm not nearly as invested as you guys are in it, so it's like I can only imagine the weight of that becomes so much more when you're in the gym and you're on the mat with these guys on pretty much a daily basis, man. Like it never stops, right?
Yeah, you see the highest highs for sure. No worries.
Amateur hour, fucking 200 episodes, my ass.
You see that, you know, you definitely go through the best of the best and the worst of the worst, and you see people struggle. You know, Dustin ripped his toe off 3 weeks before that fight. And when I say ripped off, it was ripped off. The bone's sticking out. Like, he sent us pictures, and I was like, I looked at Coach because we were on a trip with Yusuf Zalal. We were in Canada with him.
Okay. Shout out, dude.
So, yeah, so it's Dustin's last sparring session, and he sends me and Coach this picture of his toe ripped off.
He did it in sparring.
And I'm like, and the fight's 3 weeks away. I'm like, he's not fighting. There's no way. Like, he's not even going to be walking. He's going to be in a boot. Somehow, dude makes it to the fight and then has a performance like that, but
damn,
no one knows all the behind the scenes of whatever.
Right.
And you know, the funniest thing is, so Dustin finally came out after the fight and was like, "Yeah, you know, I ripped my toe off."
So how the fuck? I mean, you had to have seen it when
it
you
was
before
dislocated,
going
and so then
what'd you do? Just tape the fuck out of it?
He smacked it back in, and then they sewed it up. He took a week off, and then we just taped the fuck out of it. And they were like, take tape off. We had to retape it like 6 times.
That's the craziest
Take the tape
thing.
off. And finally, Coach was like, listen, if John Jones was here, you'd let John Jones tape his toe. Just because it's Dustin Jacoby, let him tape his toe, right? Like, fuck, they're going to go fight. This 3 inches of tape isn't going to be the difference between a knockout or not.
Well, it's so crazy, too, to stand there like the way that he did for 3 rounds with that. I mean, I don't think people realize how much, like, dexterity comes into your feet, especially when it comes to punching power and pivot and just
I didn't think
everything.
I thought there was no way we were getting to the fight. So he gets to the fight and knocks this absolute killer out. I mean, and when you have big guys fighting too, it's like every collision, you're like, it's like a car crash. You're like, oh shit, somebody's gonna get knocked out, right? And like, I was just super proud of him. You know, the crowd's booing, and for Dustin, he's very much like, I'm gonna be crowd pleaser.
He is a crowd pleaser 100%.
So when they're booing him, he's like, I gotta go. And we're like, no, just wait. Just wait. And I remember like in between the second and third round.
Not to mention like you're taking a beating while you're waiting, dude. Like
it can get super, but the guy he was fighting was super frustrated. You saw him kept putting his hands up like, come on, fight me.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to, bitch. Just wait. Right. But coach in between second and third round is like, all these motherfuckers are booing. Just give them 2 minutes. They're going to be screaming. I was like, all right, man, I hope so. I hope so. Sure enough, knocks him out.
Yeah,
man.
it truly is a chess match, man, is what I found out. Like, and so many fighters sitting across from me, it's like, there's some real strategy to it, man. Especially when it comes to opponents and at the level that you're playing at, man. It's a little bit dancing with the devil, man.
Yeah, I think, and it's like who can make the adjustment in the moment, right? And who can't. And that's sometimes like, I think that's Coach Mark's like superpower. When you're in there, he just sees it. And then the biggest piece for me or for anybody on our team, and probably the biggest piece I've struggled with, is just like, you just got to believe it, man. And I believe in Coach and whatever, but just when you're in the moment, you're like, this seems like I'm going to put myself in danger. And so everything in your body's like, don't do that. But you just have to trust, like, hey, they said it's there, so it's got to be there.
Well, it's generations of primal instincts, right? Like like humans do one of four things when shit's really going down, and you're not meant to put yourself into it voluntarily, really.
Well, look in the wild, man. You don't see, like, animals aren't fighting each other on the daily.
No.
Right? Like, you don't see two lions fighting each other every day. They do it few and far between because they're like, I might win this shit, but I'm gonna get fucked up. You know?
And then if you get hurt, there's no medical recovery. Right. You're done, dude.
Yeah. You know? So you have the craziest thoughts. I like every fight. Before I fight, I'm warming up backstage, getting my gloves on. I'm like, I'm gonna tell Coach I'm done after this. I'm like, I don't care if I win, I don't care if I lose. I'm done after this, dude, because I don't want to feel like this anymore. And then you win, and you're like, man, I was being such a bitch before this.
What is that roller coaster like, man? Because I don't know if that I could handle it, dude. I don't even think that I could make it to the octagon door.
You say that, dude, but I like it's crazy.
It's kind of like,
what I say makes no sense. Like it's the worst thing ever, but it's something that you're chasing always. So like, I don't know, because I'm not just chasing a win because I've lost and I'm immediately like, man, I'm gonna get back in there, right? So it's like all of those negative feelings. There's a lot of positive feelings, but all the negative feelings, positive feelings, all of it, I've never found them anywhere else, right? And you're chasing that feeling always of like, and you know, Coach is always like, well, you're just living, and you know, it sounds corny, but I think that's what it is, man. It makes you feel alive, and you're like, I feel like shit, I feel great, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no easy way to go hunt that thing down, you know? And so